Everybody. Good afternoon. We'll start the meeting. Welcome to the July 18th to 2022 meeting of the Rotary Club of Raleigh. We're doing a couple of tests with the people on Zoom and in the room. We have the microphone on right now. Let me know how this sounds, or with the microphone off. Whatever sounds better. Can you hear me okay if it's off? Yeah, I think with the cement floors and walls and everything, we're gonna, supposedly on Zoom, it wasn't me around. So I'm gonna turn the microphone off. Good. Bill down here. And just quickly before we get to the invocation and the pledge, for all the members who are on Zoom, please give your feedback to Alfonso or anybody else. We want to make it the best experience for you as possible. Like looking into the space, I should be looking at the owl. And I'll try to remember to repeat all the questions that are asked, so you can hear that as well. But with that, Tommy, you want to come forward and get us started today? Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. And before we start this too, I'd like to let you guys know that the invocations this year, we're looking to kind of spread that out a little bit and have some different faces up here and some different opportunities. A few of you already know that because we've spoken about it in person. But if you're somebody who's interested in giving the invocation on occasion, not all the time, but on occasion, then please do reach out and let me know that. Otherwise, hopefully we'll connect. And if you're interested, let us know. Invocations for today, if you bow your heads. May those assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of Rotary. May we abide by the rules we've established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics. May we place service above self in our daily endeavors, and may we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure that they are the truth, that they are good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen. Amen. Could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thanks very much, Tommy. And we're lucky today to have several guests with us. And to the guests I haven't met yet, I didn't introduce myself at the start. I'm Tom Packer. This year, Rotary year. And Linda, do you want to introduce our guests and have them stand up and just tell us a little bit about themselves, whether they're here or any guests on Zoom?
Hi, everyone. We do have several guests today. First of all, Katie, if you would like to stand up and introduce yourself. Katie is interested in becoming a member of our club, so please give her a warm welcome and please introduce.
I'm a criminal defense attorney here in Raleigh. I spend most of my day a couple of blocks away. I heard about Rotary from my friend who runs a community-based organization in Penn, and he just joined the Rotary of Wildlands.
Yeah, and Katie, you and I messaged each other, didn't we? About
Yes.
and that Lucy Inman, was that, or was that someone else? Lucy Inman, I forgot.
Yes.
That's right. I thought so. Okay.
I thought you said Lucy, and I said,
No, Lucy, that's right.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
And Alfredo has a guest today. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Dustin.
Good afternoon. My name is Dustin Smith. I'm a branch manager of Fidelity Bank, Swift Creek, Falyn, College Springs. And yes, Alfredo is my kind of a warm welcome and invitation today. So it's a privilege to be with you guys.
And then Harrison has not one, but two guests.
I'll let them introduce themselves. This is Debbie Ash and Michelle Owens.
I'm Debbie Ash. I'm an independent comprehensive financial advisor and owner of Ashbridge Financial Solutions. And I know Harrison for this intro. Thank you.
I am Michelle Owens with Impact Staffing Group, and I know Harrison is welcome to speak.
And then Elsa has brought a guest today.
Yes, I want to introduce Randy Giroux from Foundation for Community People Private Bank.
Big nonprofits, about 400 of them, and I ran nonprofits for a decade before Invocation. So nice to be here.
Great.
And we have Luke again this week. We will have first reading. If you'd like to step, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. John Luke, Pastor again from Keith. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here. Looking forward to hopefully get more involved in this community and
Tom Holder had a visiting Rotarian. If you'd like to get up.
Let me introduce you to my friend, Work Company. Andrew works at First Branch at Fitchburg Road. He's already found the Rotary experiment. He said he can break bread with us, and just a big young man.
Yeah, part of the Northfield Rotary Club and new Rotarian, and just want to get on that. Tom invited me to, like you said, come break bread with you guys, and I love your event space, even though this is your second time. I'll say it's very nice. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks again to Lawrence Davis's assistant Josh. And if there is anyone on Zoom, if you could please introduce yourself. Yes, on Zoom? I guess not. Nope. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Linda. And Paul and Cindy, after you get your food, there are 2 seats up here for you. Everybody, don't forget that, don't forget that we have heart buckets on the table to donate to Alzheimer's research. So any loose coins that you have, change, dollar bills, we much appreciate it. It adds up over the year and is important. I just threw this in because if any of you haven't been out there yet, the sunflowers are in full bloom at Dick's Park. It's worth it. Go out there and spend a few minutes and enjoy the rapture of the sunflowers blooming out there. It's really something. There we go. And we'll pick up $100 with maternity returns next week, unless anybody has any special announcements that they want to donate to right now. Yes, okay, let's go for $50 then.
Yeah, I just wanted to be happy about Cameron Smith winning the Oakland championship. I'm putting in $1 because Tom Holder said he's going to go with a mullet.
No. Okay. We look forward to that, Tom. And anybody else who wants to grow a mullet, we will. I think a lot of us will put in money for $50. Eric Jones. Yes, sir.
I got $20. I did work for Harrison this past week, and it was awesome. But not only that, Harrison gave me a great referral. He submitted a deposit today, so I want to say thank you, Harrison. You're always like so great for me. So thank you.
Okay, very good. Next is a special announcement. You're not going to get this by looking at it, but I thought I saw Corey come in. There's Corey. I have an announcement to make. you may have missed this on Sports Center, but, whoops, here we go. Just recently, our own Corey Fuse and our own Rick Elmore's son, who I believe goes by Ricky Jr., played for the national championship in kickball in Cleveland, Ohio for the Raleigh Llamas and won. We have a kickball national champion in our midst. Corey Fuse. Congratulations, Corey. I had no idea, but this is great. That's awesome. Just by way of announcements, these are upcoming meetings that we have. Next week should be very interesting. Ashley Simpson will be introducing a very renowned doctor of Wake Med to talk about something we don't think about much really, but it's a problem of childhood obesity in Wake County. You'll get a kick out of Floyd Pickford, who's going to tell us how our state can be shaped every year. You ever thought about that? And then Fishburne, president of Special Olympics, and one of his special guests will be here to talk with us. Then we'll have our summer break. I did want to mention though, before I talk about service, just by way of news, two things. One is, I don't think Lucy is here today, but we did want to pass along our condolences to Lucy Inman, our member, longtime member, on the passing of her uncle Frank Daniels, former publisher of the News and Observer. And also keep your thoughts and best hopes and prayers in mind for our longtime member, Bonnie Elam, whose son is in serious condition in the hospital. And that's taken up her time and efforts, as you can imagine. So please think of them. I also did want to recognize two of our members who have donated generously to the club and its foundation. Terry, we wanted to acknowledge you and Sarah's very generous donation to our foundation in honor of Dave Permar's passing and his family, and we appreciate that very, very much, Terry.
Dave Permar was one hell of a Rotary. Proud to have been served with him.
Well, very good. We'll miss him, and we appreciate that gesture. Thank you. And also, we've talked about the Rotary Club of Raleigh Dental Clinic, also known as Wake Smiles, and I also wanted to recognize Lawrence Davis's contribution, specific donation to the foundation for Wake Smiles. And we're in the midst right now of writing up applications for grants as well to help fund Wake Smiles and all they do for people in need in the community of dental care. We can't afford it otherwise. So Lawrence, your support is noted and appreciated. Thank you. We have a service project coming up. As Tommy in the invocation, you talked about service above self. Kevin, do you want to talk about it since Richard's not here?
Richard's not here.
Okay, good.
I'm going to remind, because I know a lot of new members, if you've never volunteered for Habitat, do not think that you can't help. I know there's probably a lot of people in the room saying, I have zero building skills. I can't build anything. There is a job for you out there. You can help. I mean, if you can physically stand up, you can help at Habitat. So don't feel intimidated, please. I encourage you to come out and try it for once. Most people that come out there, half the folks that come out there are women, and people, I'm not saying anything, but generally in the construction trades, and he knows this, it's predominantly men. The ladies do a far better job than the guys. I'll tell you that. Because they're not intimidated. I personally think there's guys in the room, because I've heard this at church, that don't come out and help me because they feel like they don't want to embarrass themselves because they have 0 buildings. That's wrong. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but I'm just saying, everybody can help do this. There's a job for everybody. So I really hope that you come out. I have a passion for this charity, you know, and I really hope that you guys will help, you know, affordable housing. So the community really needs, and this is your chance to get back, so.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
I'll second what he's saying. Back in the, when the Montagnards came from Vietnam as refugees, and the Rotary Club, along with the girls from Peace College and the young men from the textile school at NC State, we would generally have about 15 of the young people, and we had about 10 people from the Rotary Club. You would be surprised who those people were, and nobody had any skill whatsoever, but the work went up. We built a house in something like 29 days or something like that, and the second one, we built it in about 20 days. So it goes very smoothly, and anybody and everybody, and it is a blast. I'll tell you, it's really a lot of fun. Thank you.
What about kids? No, you have to be 16 or older. So if you have children, unfortunately, you know, 16 and 17-year-olds can't help if the parents waiver sign, but otherwise you have to be 18.
And Richard, who couldn't make, Everett, who couldn't make the meeting today, will be here next week to talk about this again. And all the other service projects, basically one a month that we planned out for the rest of the year. Give everybody a chance to serve, because that's in large part why we're here. And this right here, this we're doing this in conjunction with the City Club. It's easy breezy just to click on that link, and this is me, registration complete. So leading by example, this morning, my registration was complete, and I'll see you there on the 30th. So I think that all leads us into membership. Yes. And Harrison, you want to come up and talk about membership? Thanks. Play third base.
Hey everybody, hey everybody on Zoom. Thank you so much for staying. So excited to see so many visitors here. Hopefully that turns into potential members, as we will see a little bit today. First thing before we jump into all the things around membership, wanted to refresh everyone's memory around our membership categories. We have tried our best as a board to provide multiple different categories of membership to kind of meet the needs of our community, as well as to make it more accessible for people who are starting families for the first time and might have a tighter budget, things like that. So we have these here, just wanted to provide. And if you want more detail around these, let me know and I can go into more detail with you. But we have a full membership, as the majority of us are in here are. We do have a junior membership category, which is for anyone that's under the age of 40 or under, that has a tiered step up membership due structure. We have our e-membership, which people on Zoom, multiple of you are on there as well, and then leave of absence. And leave of absence really hasn't changed much. So like I said, if you want more details around these specific categories or what goes into them, let me know. All right, next thing we have today, our first reading for, I love saying the name, Jean-Luc Dubois. Is that right? All right, Jean-Luc, you'll come up with me up front, please. Yes, I had an opportunity to have lunch with Jean-Luc. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal potential member that truly has a heart just around the service itself. And that's how we kind of got engaged with Rotary, is hearing of what we do in our community. So today we have a first reading for potential new member, Jean-Luc Dubois, sponsored by Charlie Upshaw. Jean-Luc was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and after graduating from high school, attended the University of Arizona, where he studied public administration and played rugby. He moved to Texas in 2015, where he started his finance career with Charles Schwab. Shortly following his time at Schwab, Jean-Luc joined the Mutual of America Financial Group in Dallas, Texas, as a retirement plan specialist, where he partners and educates local nonprofits and small businesses on their retirement plan offerings. He relocated to North Carolina in June. This kind of reminds me of the Juicy story a little bit, just so quick to jump in Rotary, I love it. And he's excited to join an organization that is so active in his community. His hobbies, once again, are rugby, martial arts training, and spending time with his 6-year-old daughter. And you just picked up golf.
Okay.
Let me know how it goes.
Start.
I just don't try. Anyways, so if you haven't had an opportunity to introduce yourself to John Luke, say hello. I'm looking forward to having him as a new member. And I know Juicy plays rugby, John Luke plays rugby. We're going to start a Rotary rugby team. No, I won't be able to. I'll be able to stop it. Thank you so much for your time. All right, next up, can I have Alfredo up here? And Alfredo, while you come up, I forgot your badge. So. So with guests here today, I just want to bring up a clarification. First thing we did, Jean-Luc had his first reading today. We do readings for potential members. That gives an opportunity for our club to get to know the potential member. And it also allows us to vet them to make sure that they are a stand-up person in society in our local community that would be a good Rotarian. So wanted to give you a little bit more clarity on that. The next thing is, as you can see here, Alfredo has his red badge on. When you're a new member of Rotary, you receive a red badge. And we have a blue badge checklist that our new members complete to move on to getting their blue badge. It's a way of allowing our new members to get engaged and involved with the Rotary Club. So just wanted to make sure you guys are like, what is this red badge, blue badge? You understand what that is. So today we have exciting news. Alfredo is getting his blue badge. Alfredo, you were approved by the board members of this club to hold active membership in the Rotary Club of Raleigh. You express your willingness to become a Rotarian as your induction ceremony and pledge to abide by the principles, responsibilities, and obligations of Rotary in your personal and professional life. Membership in Rotary is an honor and privilege and has its corresponding obligations to live by the objects of Rotary, the motto of service above self, and the 4-way test. Upon your induction, you received your red badge and embarked upon the path of accomplishing requirements established for you to receive your blue badge. This included new membership orientation, which I believe the majority of our new members have done, participating in club service projects and attending club board meetings, among other tasks. These steps to your blue badge were established to help you get to know this club, its members, its administrative organization, and for the members of the club to get to know you as well. Since you have completed those tasks, we are so excited to provide you with your blue badge. Thank you very much. Everyone, if you would join me. And last but not least, we have our upcoming service social. Once again, for our new members or guests here today, we usually have a 5th meeting. We call them 5th meetings, but it's an after-hour event. But we decided, why don't we take those opportunities when we do after-hour events to actually do a service project for our community as well. So we are actually sponsoring 2 middle schools here in Raleigh, and during our service socials, which we call them now, we encourage Rotarians to come out, have a beer, get to know other Rotarians, and bring snacks like granola bars, squeezy pouches, and things like that, that then we then distribute to these middle schools to help with kids that are unfortunate and aren't able to have food provided to them. So I just want to remind everyone that it's going to be July 27th, which is a Wednesday. We usually do these on Thursday, but we're going to go back and forth on that from 5:30 to 7. We're going to be doing it at 10 and Terrace, which is off of Salisbury Street. Please, if you have not come to one of these in a while, please mark your calendars to come out. It's more than just grabbing a beer. We're really making an impact. I think that's it.
Thank you, Harrison. Thank you. And for everybody, when you get back to your computers this afternoon, if you want to know more details, for example, about the membership categories, or you want to sign up for the service project, they're both in today's bulletin. The link's there, you can click on, sign up for or learn about it. Birthdays, Chris Jones, July 21st, This just reminds me, we just, a couple, 2-3 nights ago, we had a mid-year meeting of our finance committee. And Chris always plays an important role in that committee, looking at our foundation endowment. And these days, the challenges to it, whether we're allocated properly and whatnot. So Chris does a great job contributing to that. And our immediate past membership chair, Christy Santa Cana's birthday, and Stag Madry as well. And one anniversary, Phil and Jessica Barton, 20 years. And with that, I think unless there's any other club business, I think that leads into introducing our guest speaker today. When I first moved to North Carolina, I became friends with a neighbor of ours who has a place near Emerald Isle at the coast, and he loves to fish, and so do I. So once a year, still, he invites me to go fishing with him on his boat. I mean, it's a little boat, it keeps on the trailer, but it's a power boat. So we go fishing in the marshes and try to fish for trout and red drum and whatnot. And he said, Tom, the one thing you should do, though, to really, now that you're becoming a North Carolinian, is to subscribe to this magazine, which is Wildlife North Carolina, put out by the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. This is the current month, has beautiful photographs of animals and birds and the annual contest. And it's a great magazine if any of you are interested in fishing, in hunting, or just in wildlife throughout the state. And having been reading this magazine every month for several years now, and being a homeowner with a backyard, it got me thinking that it would be an interesting presentation to have somebody from the Wildlife Resources Commission come talk to us. So I contacted them and was directed eventually to our speaker today, Falyn Owens. And we started communicating back and forth about what you could talk about. And as it turns out, she takes the lead for the commission in helping people like us who I think they call it unplanned encounters with wildlife. Which can take the form of, wow, there's a snake on my deck, or a skunk underneath, or a deer, a coyote, whatever. She takes the lead on those types of issues. And as you know, if you live around here, we're fortunate, despite the area getting more and more built up, we still have a lot of wildlife in our areas that live with us. And so she's going to tell us how to live with them and how to deal with them when we have these unplanned encounters. Falyn's, by way of background, Falyn's background is that she is the Resource Commission's extension biologist, extending out to the public the resources of the commission. Her work focuses on statewide programs and outreach that address these unplanned or surprise interactions between humans and wildlife, either from rehabilitation of an orphaned or injured wildlife to helping with wildlife-related complaints and property damage. She currently supervises the North Carolina Wildlife Helpline and is a leader in several statewide efforts, including the North Carolina Beaver Management Advisory and the North Carolina Feral Swine Task Force. And this, to me, sounds like a fun job. And Falyn holds a Master of Science in Wildlife and Renewable Natural Resources from Louisiana State University. And so with that, would you please welcome our speaker, Falyn Owens.
Thank you, Tom, for the introduction. That's pretty much all I can say about myself. I'm gonna try to figure out where I can stand so I can be talking into the owl for our Zoom participants and see the slides and be able to talk to you guys. Hopefully this is like the perfect place to stand. So as Tom mentioned, we have a lot of wildlife in Raleigh. So I tried to figure out what to talk about in pieces triangle. So that's kind of what I'm gonna talk about towards the end, but at first, I just kind of want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what the North Carolina Wildlife Commission is responsible for. So here's our mission statement. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. Before I get started, I wanted to take the temperature of you folks in terms of what types of outdoor recreation and wildlife recreation you participate in. So unfortunately, our Zoom members can't participate, but by show of hands, who in here hunts or has hunted in the past? Wow, pretty good number, awesome. What about fishing? About the same, maybe a little bit more, awesome. What about boating, whether you have a boat or not? Go on friends, awesome, a whole lot of people. Kayaking, canoeing, all right, awesome. What about bird watching? Hey, a little bit fewer, but so excellent. I see a lot of participation, and what the Wildlife Commission does is ensure your opportunity to engage in all of those activities and much more. So yeah. Now we're ready for the mission statement. So by the way wildlife are conserved across our country in North America, so not only the country, but it's called the North American Conservation Model. The state governments are responsible for making sure that wildlife live and thrive around, along with all the changes in life and people and economies and whatnot. And so the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission is the entity that's responsible for making sure that wildlife don't go extinct, while make sure our wildlife populations are healthy and thriving, and also guarantee that the citizens of our state have ample opportunities to enjoy those resources, whether you're going out to hunt or fish and collect whatever you catch to take home to eat, or maybe even just make happy memories and maybe take some photos. So all of those activities are encompassed in what the Wildlife Commission is responsible for. And we're actually celebrating our 75th year. So this is I'm happy to talk about the commission because we've been around for 75 years. And if you go on our website, we have a lot of really neat stuff talking about all of the conservation activities we've done over the last 75 years. And that has encompassed restoring and even reintroducing species that became locally extinct that we wouldn't have if not for those conservation efforts. Some species that are some of our most iconic wildlife in our state, including wild turkeys. We lost our wild turkeys and they are back because of these conservation efforts. Otters, and even our black bears. Many years and decades of conservation work to bring those species back. Also, a lot of species that you probably have never even heard of, like the magnificent ram swarm, which is a giant land snail that we have in North Carolina. It's critically endangered in the state. And this guy's our eastern hellbent, which is locally one of my favorite nicknames in the wildlife world. They're also known as snot butters. And this is the largest salamander in North Carolina. We have these in our healthiest waterways in North Carolina. So they're a great indicator of healthy water, clean water. And we're trying really hard to make sure that these animals don't go away. The Wildlife Commission also creates and maintains public access boat ramps. So if you've ever gotten on a boat and launched off a boat ramp in a public area, it's very likely that was created and maintained by the Wildlife Commission. These are public access for anybody to use. And for anybody who does go boating, the buoys in our inland waters are actually maintained by the Wildlife Commission. So it's not just wildlife, we're responsible for all sorts of crazy things. We also do a lot of proactive education work, like the presentation I'm giving today, to help North Carolinians understand our wildlife, understand the threats that they face, understand how to conserve them and coexist with them peacefully, and also make sure our young North Carolinians learn how to be good stewards of our land and our wildlife going into the future. So part of that education work that we do actually involves a lot of consultation work. So kind of in the vein of what I'm doing now, but in multiple different facets, we actually do free consultations to businesses, to local governments, to individual citizens and everything in between. to help address people's questions, whether it's how do I get wildlife onto my property for hunting or for just wildlife viewing. Maybe there's this one endangered species that I would love to have on my property. How can I attract that species to my property? All the way to, okay, I've got a raccoon in my attic. What do I do with this thing? How do I get rid of this stupid animal? Across the board. And in terms of businesses and local governments, we also do consultation services to help people grow, or businesses and governments grow in a sustainable way that prevents conflicts with wildlife and also make sure that we can coexist with wildlife. So we have a whole program called the Green Roof Toolbox that's available for cities like Raleigh to plan their growth in a sustainable way that helps conserve the wildlife. So across the board, lots of education opportunities and consultation opportunities. And pretty much across the board, most of those services are free to the public. Okay, so the consultation usually in most cases is very proactive. We love to do proactive work. We love to prevent issues by giving people the information that they need so that problems don't occur in the first place. That kind of stuff gets me really excited. But we also do a lot of reactive education. So when somebody's got an issue and they need to figure out what they can do, that's kind of a lot of where I come in with my extension work. So if you've got a question, as Tom mentioned, I am the supervisor of a resource that we have, which is the North Carolina Wildlife Helpline. And this is a fantastic one-stop shop. If you suddenly have a question about a wild animal and you have no idea where to start, you don't know how to respond, how to react, what's going on, what your options are, you can call this helpline. And there are 3 wildlife biologists who run this helpline during regular business hours. So if it's during the weekend, you'll have to wait until Monday. But 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, these people are here specifically to answer your questions and make sure that you are empowered to handle the situation in the best way possible. So it's kind of like a 411 just for wildlife stuff. Even if it's not a wildlife problem, you know, they can get you to the right person. They know who's going to be able to help you out, whether it's like a hunting regulations question or, you know, any number of wildlife related things you're curious about. I do want to have a caveat that it's not a dispatch service. This is a statewide helpline, and we do not have staff that can come out and be hands-on. So if you've got a raccoon in the attic or a squirrel in the bird feeder that you want to get rid of, we can't send anybody out to come and take that animal away. And not only that, usually there's other things that you can do besides just removing the animal that we prefer people to do, even though sometimes that is the best response. So just before you call, I want to make sure everybody's expectations are set appropriately. We literally have nowhere near enough staff to be able to, you know, we'll be over right away kind of response. So, but we do provide a lot of guidance, a lot of advice, a lot of information so that you can resolve the problem. Oh, there we go. So that's kind of a one-stop shop centralized for the entire state. We also have biologists on the ground that do all sorts of cool consultation services. There are 9 different districts within our agency, the way we think about the state. So there's 9 biologists across the entire state that help out with wildlife conflict issues. So say you got a perennial issue with deer getting into your soybean crop, if you know any agricultural farmers or anything like that. Our district wildlife biologists are really great at figuring out what your problem is and coming up with a management plan so that you can have a long-term strategy for ameliorating or mitigating the issue. Our district biologists also do a lot of our wildlife research. So we have species-specific biologists who study all of our species to make sure that their populations are healthy and thriving. But a lot of that groundwork, the boots on the ground, going and doing those surveys, that's in a lot of cases done by our district wildlife biologists, because we've got a few of them. If you are interested in getting help attracting a particular species or a group of species to your property, if you got land and you really want to have the best possible pollinator garden, or, you want to attract deer or something like that. Our conservation biologists, again, there's 9 of them, and they can even write a management plan to show you exactly how you can accomplish that goal, and they can tell you about lots of funding opportunities, tax incentives, and also, in some cases, cost share programs to reduce the costs of doing that conservation work on your property. Most of North Carolina is private property, so we really heavily rely on our private citizens to create the habitat, to create the space that wildlife needs to be able to thrive. So we provide the information so that our private citizens and landholders can make those spaces. Anyway, a little bit about the structure of who you can contact for help. But like I said, most of our staff don't do, hands-on type of service. We can provide guidance, we can write management plans, we can tell you what your options are. But if you really need hands-on assistance, you need somebody who's actually going to come to your property or to take that animal, whether it's to help it, if it's an injured or orphaned wild animal, or if you've got a conflict issue and you need that animal just go away. We do have people who do those types of services, but they don't work for the Wildlife Commission. Our job is not to be hands-on, but our job is to make sure that those types of activities happen responsibly and legally. So what we do is we train and license the people who do those kinds of things. So for example, if you have a wildlife conflict issue, you've got, there's a possum living under your porch, or there's a coyote that is getting into your chicken coop. There are individuals who can definitely do that work for you, but they are licensed through the commission. They're called wildlife control agents. So if you need somebody to come and respond to a wildlife issue, and you've got a problem animal situation, you want to call a wildlife control agent. Again, they don't work for us, but they do have to get trained, and they have to get relicensed every year and have continuing education to make sure they know what they're doing it responsibly, legally, and humanely, and safely too. We don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm gonna keep going, but hold that question. I'll take questions at the end. On the other end of the spectrum, we have individuals that we license to do wildlife rehabilitation. So if you find an injured or orphaned animal and you want somebody to take care of it who knows what they're doing, we make sure that there are wildlife rehabilitators out there who can take care of that situation and help that animal be able to survive on its own eventually. Okay, now I want to go into some examples. How am I doing on time? I've got questions. I can answer questions.
Yeah, keep going. We'll have questions at the end.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to switch over to some kind of case examples of some of the specific types of situations that come up across North Carolina, and especially in the Raleigh area. So hopefully I picked some interesting examples for you, and it's really just a very small subset of what I could talk about. So if there's anything that I don't talk about, please by all means ask afterwards, and I can try to give you some information about it. But here's just a quick and dirty overview of some of the heavy hitters, let's say. Coyotes and foxes. We get a ridiculous amount of calls every year across the state with people complaining, primarily complaints about coyotes and foxes. We have 2 species of foxes, red fox, gray fox. That's a gray fox, kind of salt and peppery versus mostly red and black. And coyotes, which should come in black, it's totally normal. Uncommon, but normal. And the fact of the matter is that they are very common across North Carolina. I like to say, especially with coyotes, because I do a lot of coyote workshops, there's probably not a square inch of North Carolina that does not have a pair of coyotes living on it. They are newcomers. They started arriving from the western United States several decades ago. They're not native to North Carolina, but coyotes across the world are doing fantastic. They used to just be in the Midwestern United States, but since people started changing the landscape, they have expanded their range, and now they are present and common in every single state in the United States except Hawaii. I think that's the only one who doesn't have coyotes these days. And pretty much all of Canada and all of Central America. And they're just starting to creep into South America. So coyotes are doing extremely well. And they tend to do extremely well whenever there's a lot of people. So that's something to think about. They're not just animals that thrive in wild places. They really do well. Most of the complaints that we get about these animals are fear-based. I look at the data, we report data on the types of calls that people call us about, and I look and figure out what's going on out there, what types of issues are people having. And the vast majority of the complaints about foxes and coyotes in North Carolina don't involve the animals really causing any harm. But there's a lot of fear, a lot of worry. I saw a fox going through my neighborhood. Like, it's gotta be dangerous. Somebody's gotta remove it before somebody gets hurt. There's a coyote in the neighborhood. Somebody's gotta remove it before somebody gets hurt. The fact of the matter is, most of these animals, despite how common they are, don't really cause too many issues. So most of the response that we have as an agency is education. We try to let people know what's normal behavior, what to expect, and how to prevent issues. And most of the time, kind of across the board with wildlife conflicts, it usually revolves around removing food sources. So if you have like a wild animal that's hanging around a whole lot next to your property, there's probably some sort of food that's attractive. And oftentimes that's going to be pet food that's left outside, bird feeders, compost piles, stuff like that. So removing the food source often makes the animal just not spend nearly as much time where you don't want it to be. And believe it or not, hazing, or as I like to put it, scaring the living daylights out of the animal, is actually a really effective technique to get them to understand that this yard, this space, is my territory and you're not allowed. So you can say that you were told by a professional wildlife biologist that one of the best things you can do if you see a fox or coyote in your yard is to go, scare it off. Because they understand that. They understand territory. They understand threats. They don't want to hang around where there's a big, crazy, scary animal that can really hurt them. So, don't be afraid to assert yourself as the bigger, scarier animal and scare them away. It's actually really effective.
Do you have bounties on coyotes in any counties in North Carolina?
No, we don't have coyote bounties. At a local level, I don't believe there are any coyote bounties, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I give a whole hour-long talk about coyotes. So we'll hold that till the end, because if I get started about coyote population management, I can go on all day. And then at the bottom, we've got supervising small pets. This is especially for coyotes. Looking at the data, like I said, I'm a scientist, I like looking at the real life examples of what's going on out there between people and wildlife. The number one actual harm caused by coyotes is loss of small unsupervised pets. So things like outdoor cats, toy breed dogs, and we're going to throw some livestock in here too, chickens. These are all animals that are roughly the size of a rabbit or smaller, and to a coyote, that means potential dinner. When those animals are not supervised and there's no human nearby, they're kind of up for grabs. So fortunately, these are all things that we can control. We can prevent the loss of these animals by keeping them in secure enclosures, like good runs and coops for chickens, keeping dogs, small dogs on a leash, and keeping cats indoors. Pretty simple stuff that we can do to prevent coyotes from causing harm.
Do any of the counties in North Carolina have as many as 10,000 coyotes in that county?
I'm not good at talking about the exact numbers of coyotes because it's really, really difficult to estimate the exact number.
But there are a lot of them.
We have a lot of coyotes. All across the entire state, we have a lot of coyotes. But we'll let till the end. So next, possums and raccoons. Another group of animals that are really, really common in urban and suburban areas. Press the down button. Oh, there it goes. Okay, where am I supposed to point? A computer? Oh no, now it's going all over the place. So The biggest issue with these animals, again, usually there's a source of food that's attractive, pet food, bird feeders, that kind of thing. So removing the food is great. And also access to buildings. So raccoons like to get into attics, and opossums like to get into crawl spaces and under porches and things like that. So when we look at the data, these are the kinds of complaints that people are actually realistically having with these animals. And again, a lot of the time, what we offer, the advice is find the food source that's attracting them and remove it, and that'll make the problem go away. That is really effective. We've got a lot of information to show that just removing the bird feeder or feeding your pets inside makes the animals they just stop hanging around. Securing garbage cans, both raccoons and opossums love to get in the garbage. So make sure that your garbage can is either kept inside or in a closure, or you can use a bungee cord or a brick or something like that if you're having issues, just to prevent them from getting in there, and then they'll go away when there's no food. And of course, repairing building exteriors. So, maybe if you have a raccoon in the attic, you might still need to have that animal removed potentially, but after it's gone, do your repairs, make sure wildlife can't get back in, and that'll prevent the issue from happening in the future. And then of course, with sort of underneath buildings, repair your underpinning, close the vents to your crawl space, keep wild animals from getting in, and then you won't have the issue where the animals have taken up residence under or above your home. Bats. We have a lot of species of bats in North Carolina. 18 different unique individual species of bats. We've got a great bat diversity. And many of those bat species are either endangered or threatened, federally or by state list. So they are all protected. All species of bats are protected in North Carolina. The biggest issue that we see with bats and attics. It just happens. They love attics. They're really tiny. People underestimate how tiny bats are. You get a lot of people who say, I found a baby bat, and when you look at the picture and the scale, and no, that's an adult bat. They're like the size of small mice. They're incredibly small. So they can get into really small holes. A hole about a half an inch is big enough for your typical house bat to get into your house. So it's kind of difficult to keep them out, but it's possible with hardware cloth and mesh, things like that. So because bats are protected, that means you can't kill them. So you get bats in the attic. You can't have somebody come and round them up, and you can't actually even capture them. You're not supposed to do that. There's special licenses that you have to have to capture bats. But what we do allow people to do is exclusions. And an exclusion basically means having a professional come and install a one-way trap. So when the bats are hungry and it's evening time and they're ready to go to feed for the evening, they all leave. And then in the morning, the sun's about to come up and they're all full and they're ready to come back in. They can't get back in. So the bats have to find someplace else to live, but it doesn't involve capturing them and it doesn't involve killing. So that's a really effective, humane technique that protects our bats while also dealing with the situation of bats and attics, which we don't want. This time of year, I do want to mention that there's actually a moratorium on bat exclusions. Just a neat little factoid. Well, we don't have any bats in the attic right now. Because bats are protected and you can't kill them. And right now is their breeding season. So there's baby bats. If you put in a one-way trap and all the adults can leave, but they can't get back in, what happens to the baby bats? Yeah, they starve to death. It's not good. So we do have a moratorium that prevents the eviction or exclusion of bats. Right now, it actually ends at the end of this month. So August 1st, you got a bat problem, and you're good to go. But that's one of the ways that we make sure that people can do these exclusions and bats don't get part of the process. So hopefully that was interesting to you guys. If you do have an issue with bats in the attic and it's during that moratorium period, a wildlife control agent can still seal up the living space to make sure the bats can't get into the house. So they'll still be in the attic, but they can't get into the house. And that's really the best possible way to protect you, just making sure the bats can't get to where you are. And then they'll be fine up in the attic until the moratorium period. So by all means, if you have issues with bats, you can still get assistance. They just can't remove the bats until August 1st. I used to, in a previous job, almost all my work revolved around dealing with Canada goose issues. That was actually up in Indiana. They got a lot more goose issues than we do down here in North Carolina. But we still have issues with Canada geese. I can tell from all of the who's and ahs in the crowd. Yep. The animal that we love to be frustrated with. For better or for worse, whenever you have mowed grass right next to a body of water, it is goose paradise. And we have a lot of that. People love to mow lots of lawn, big areas of lawn, right next to retention ponds, right next to natural ponds and creeks. And so, in a sense, the way we manage our property creates the monster that is these huge flocks of Canada geese that never leave. This photo was actually taken in Raleigh off of Lake Boone Trail next to the Chewy's, the little taco place. You know what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah.
and I've got a million of these photos from my work. We've got lots and lots of Canada geese, but they are federally protected. They have a hunting season when they can be hunted, but you can't just go and kill a goose. You have to have a permit to do so. And that's a whole other story about how they're managed. There's a difference between migratory and non-migratory geese legally, and it's complicated. But what we try to tell people starting off is figuring out ways to ameliorate the problem, get the geese not to want to be there in the first place. And one of the best starting points is if there's anybody that's putting bread out, feeding the geese every day, we've got some geese, get people to stop doing that because it very much exacerbates the problem, and it can cause that goose population to swell and get bigger. And if you've got the more food you provide, the more animals you're going to have. That's just a fundamental tenet of wildlife population management. So don't feed them any more than they already have. They eat turf grass, so they don't need any extra food. So this type of signage can be a powerful place to start goose issues. And explaining to people why feeding ducks and geese actually causes more harm than good can be a great way to get them to understand the problem and kind of meet you halfway. A little more time? Okay. So another fantastic method is breaking up the food source, which is the grass, and the place of protection. Geese go to water when they're scared. So if you prevent them from easily walking from the grass to the water, or vice versa, that can be a great way to make the area less attractive. So short fencing that keeps geese from walking across can be really attractive. It doesn't infringe on our sight lines, and it can actually just geese don't go elsewhere. I can talk about geese all day long. We've got a lot of online resources about goose management, including a whole guide on why they're attracted to ponds with mowed grass and what you can do about it. So if you want more information, I can talk to you afterwards, or you can look it up online. And last but not least, just really quickly, black bears are a big issue in North Carolina in terms of conflicts. We don't have a lot of them in Raleigh, although we do have some. We definitely have some black bears in the Triangle, and we get sightings in the Triangle of Piedmont every year. And there are two things that attract bears to places where people live. One, well, food is always what does it. But number one is bird feeders. And number two is open trash that bears can get into. As our black bear population grows, it might become important for us to change the ways we manage our garbage. The Wildlife Commission actually tests garbage cans to see which ones are more bear resistant. And we try to get cities to invest in these trash cans. The city of Asheville is actually purchasing these. Man's Harbor on the coast is purchasing these trash cans and providing them to citizens to help prevent these bear issues. He doesn't get it. Spoiler, he doesn't get it. And then we have a fantastic website that is a collaborative resource from all the states in the southeastern United States that work together And it's about to go national, bearwas.org. So if you're curious about bears and what types of problems they can cause for people and help them, bearwas.org is an excellent resource. And with that, we're gonna move on to questions.
Okay.
But you tell
We
me.
have time for a couple of questions. Terry and Elsa. Terry?
Talk about rabies this year.
Well,
There's a quick question about rabies for people on Zoom.
yeah. So rabies, we definitely have rabies in North Carolina. We have top species that are prone to keep contracting rabies. Raccoons are number one on the list. Foxes are second, and then skunks, and last but not least, cats. Most of those animals don't have rabies, but the Department of Health and Human Services keeps very close records on which animals do get tested and show up positive. So if you ever see an animal that is just not acting right, not being awake during the daytime, but walking in circles or twitching or seizuring, definitely don't try to pick it up.
Elsa, you had a question?
I do. First of all, bats, they always build a little bat house, they're small, and then they never go back in their house.
It's an excellent suggestion, yes.
Really, but my concern here is the same thing we have on North Michigan, which is a lot of deer. And I live off a long road. So really the question is, who's protecting that as we kind of push them out more and more? With no place to go?
So
On Zoom, what can we do about deer and who's protecting them?
yeah, deer are a little bit like Canada geese. They actually thrive in suburbs. Deer populations in suburban areas where there's no natural predators go far beyond deer populations in more wild areas. So when you see a whole lot of deer in your neighborhood, it's not because they're getting pushed out because of construction next door. It's because your neighborhood is amazing deer habitat. And for better or for worse, the only ways to deal with those types of issues are either to control the population by we have urban archery programs, and not feeding them. Again, the more you feed them, the more animals you get, and fencing. Fencing is a really great way to keep them out of your particular garden if you have a whole lot of hostas or tasty
Well,
plants.
my concern is not that. I happily have them in my backyard. My concern is that they're gonna get hit.
Yeah, and certainly deer are susceptible to collisions with vehicles in areas where there's a lot of deer and a lot of cars. There's not too much we can do about that other than telling people to drive safe when we're going, not go too fast. And we are working on wildlife crossings in some parts of the state over highways. But in like residential areas and neighborhoods, drive safe, be careful, especially at dawn and dusk.
Falyn, thank you very much. Everybody. And we have a Raleigh, Rotary Club of Raleigh that is on its way to you.
Oh.
A couple meetings ago, I forgot the 4-way test. Today, I forgot the cups. Sorry. I'm learning. I thought that was great. Thank you very much. And you'll be able to answer any questions if anybody afterwards like to come up. So with that, our speech wise. Of the things we ask, of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will there goodwill and better intentions? Will be beneficial to all. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.